Hello class. In this video, we're going to learn how to convert mixed numbers to improper fractions and vice versa. Before we go on the lessons though, I want you to pause the video and write your complete heading in your notebook. Don't forget that your full first and last name, the date, the title of mathematics, your period number, and the title of this lesson, convert mixed numbers to improper fractions and vice versa. Pause the video now and write this in your notebooks. Now that we have this in our notebooks, we can go over what it means to convert mixed numbers and to improper fractions and vice versa. These are actually two different skills. One is making the mixed numbers to improper fractions, and then the second one is to convert improper fractions back to mixed numbers. And it's crucial that we know how to do this so that we can multiply and divide fractions, because we cannot keep them as mixed numbers to do so, and then you always want to simplify at the end. So we're first going to cover how to convert mixed numbers to improper fractions. To do that, there is a separate process that we have to do, and there's a set of rules. So here we have our rules. The very first step that you have to do by converting mixed numbers to improper fractions is by multiplying the denominator and the whole number together. And once we get that result, we're then going to take that result and we're going to add what it is in our numerator. Now, the result of this is what is going to be our new numerator, and our denominator stays the same. So I want you to pause this video now, and I want you to write our rules on how to convert mixed numbers to improper fractions. Now that we have this in our notebooks, we can actually apply this, because I know it's a little confusing while we're looking at it for steps 1, 2, 3, and 4, but let's actually come and apply that. So here's our first example where we have convert 2 7/10 to an improper fraction. So for easier reasons, I'm actually going to rewrite this the way that we normally see our fractions so that we can get a better understanding of it. Now that I have this, I can then go to our very first step, and it says take our denominator, which in this case is 10, and multiply it by our whole number. So we're going to multiply this. And so for step 1, we're going to do 10, taking our denominator, multiplying it by our whole number, and 10 times 2 equals 20. Our step 2 then states that we got to take the results of step 1, in this case it's 20, and we're going to then add what our numerator is. And here our numerator is 7. So I'm going to add 7. And 20 plus 7 gives us 27. Now let's just do a quick review before we go on to step 3. We did 10 times 2 because if you look at it, in the whole number, how many pieces are in a whole number? Well, our denominator here says in this problem, there are 10 pieces in one whole number. And since we have two whole numbers, that's how we got 20, 10 plus 10. And remember, repeated addition is multiplication. And then we just add the pieces that we have in the numerator. So it's like we're throwing all the pieces in the pot, and that's how we got 27. So our step 3 states that we are then going to make step number 2, our numerator. And step 4, our denominator stays the same. So when I look at that, I have 2 7/10. That equals 27 over 10, or 27/10. And then I'm going to circle this as that is our final answer. I want you to pause this video now and write this example in your notebooks. Now that I have that in my notebook, let's try one more example. So here we have convert 5 3/4 to an improper fraction. Again, I'm just going to rewrite our fractions the way that we like to see them, because remember, typing is a little bit harder with that. Step 1 says I'm going to take my denominator, which in this case is 4, and I'm going to multiply it by my whole number. So we are actually doing 4 times 5, and 4 times 5 gives us 20. Step 2 says you're going to take the results of step 1, in this case is 20, And then we're going to add what is in our numerator. And here in the fraction, our numerator is 3. So we're adding the 3 pieces. So 20 plus 3 is 23. Step 3 tells us that when we look at this, the 5 3/4, step 3 says my new numerator as an improper fraction is going to be 23, and my denominator is going to stay the same. So in this case, it's 4. So 5 3/4 became 23/4. And I'm going to circle that because, again, that's my final answer. I want you to pause this video now and write down this example in your notebooks. Now that I have my notebooks and I'm pretty comfortable in converting the fractions, I just got to remember it's the denominator times the whole number. And then I get that result, I add the numerator, and then I get that result, and that's my new numerator. And my denominator stays the same. But now, what if I have an improper fraction and I need to convert that into a mixed number? So I'm at the end, I calculated everything I need to calculate. Now I want to simplify. Well, there is a set of rules for that as well. So here we have how to convert improper fractions to mixed numbers. Step 1, you divide the numerator by the denominator. So you just take whatever the numerator is and divide it by the denominator. Then the number of full times the denominator goes into the numerator is now the new whole number. Anything that's remainder, that's your new numerator. And of course, our denominator stays the same. I want you to pause this video now and write down these sets of rules in our in our notebooks. Now that we have that in our notebooks, let's look at an example. So here we have convert 21 over 2, or 21 halves, into a mixed number. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite my numbers. I like to keep my fractions going vertically so that I can turn around and easily see, okay, and not get confused. So the first step that we're doing is we have to divide, right? So we're going to divide. So the 21 goes inside, our dividend goes inside, and our divisor goes on the outside. So how do we divide? Well, you take this and you figure out how it goes into each individual differences. So how many times does 2 go into 2? Well, I know 2 times 1 is 2, so it goes into 2 one time. So I bring a 1 up here, and 1 times 2 is 2, so I'm going to subtract the 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. I'm not done dividing because I still have this 1 here, so I got to bring down the 1. Now I need to figure out 2 goes into 1 how many times? And the answer is none, not as a whole number anyway. So I'm going to make that as a 0, and 0 times 2 is 0. 1 minus 0 is 1. Now I know I will go into decimals here because I would have to add a decimal and a 0. But because I'm dealing with fractions, I just need to just record where I have here, and I could stop. I don't have to continue. So 10 is my whole numbers. 2 goes into 21 10 times evenly. So my number here then becomes a 10 as a whole number. And my remainder here is 1. So that's now my new numerator. And of course, my denominator stays the same. So this is my final answer, so I'm going to circle this. I want you to pause this video now and write this in your notebooks. Now that I have that, let's try one more problem. Here we have convert 26/4 into a mixed number. So I'm going to rewrite this the way I like to see my fractions. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I like to do that. Now I go over here in my workspace and I'm going to divide. Remember, my dividend comes out. My dividend goes in the center. So the 26 goes inside. And my divisor goes on the outside. So I'm going to write my 4 here. And I look at this and I go, 4 goes into 2 how many times? None, not as a whole number anyway. So I'm going to put a 0, and 4 times 0 is 0, so I'm going to minus the 0. 2 minus 0 is 2. Now I see another number here. I need to bring that down. Okay, now I need to figure out how many times does 4 go into 26? Okay, and I know that that's 6 times because 6 times 4 is 24. So I'm going to minus the 24. If you didn't know what that is, you could always work on the side. 4 times 1 equals 4. 4 times 2 equals 8. And you could do that so forth. And so you get to 4 times 6, and you'll realize that equals 24. And I know that that's pretty close, but you could always do one more to see. 4 times 7 gives you 28. And that's too large, so we know that it is the 6. So 26 minus 24 is 2. Because there's no other numbers here, I could stop right here because I'm going to leave my remainder as my numerator. So here, my quotient has a 6 as a whole number. So 4 goes into 26 6 whole times. My remainder here of 2 is now my new numerator. And of course, my denominator stays the same. So this becomes 6 2/4. I would like you to pause this video now and copy all of the work in your notebooks. Now that we have some examples under our belt, let's try some on your own. I want you to, for the homework section, I want you to convert 9 3/8 to an improper fraction. So that was the first set that we did. So we had this example and this example to help with it. The second question is to convert the following 19/6 into a mixed number. And that was the second set that we used. So that was this example and this example. Remember, you can watch the video as many times as you need to. And make sure that you write down the question and show all of your work on how to do this in your notebooks.